Automating Success Show guests. I'm your host, Joe Langton. Today I'm here with Harrison Goode with a really exciting company. He is one of the founders of a company called Edgetech, and I'm excited to bring him on the show because I'm always talking about how exciting automation is, and people are always questioning if it's killing jobs or whatever. And this man's entire company focuses around placing people in these types of industries. So this should be a great show. And why don't you tell us how you can help people automate their success?
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for having me on, Joe. It's great to join you. So yeah, as Joe mentioned, I'm Harrison Goode, one of the co-founders of Edgetech, and Edgetech is an emerging technology recruitment firm. We're based in the UK, but we recruit for organizations right across the globe, out into the States, into Europe, and across Asia and Pacific as well. And the specific area that we like to focus on when we recruit is all around emerging technologies, and naturally automation and artificial intelligence falls into that. And automation for us and a lot of organizations across the world at the moment is such a key talking point. So we help those businesses, whether they're the software providers or vendors themselves, the consultancies delivering the services around those technologies, or the end users who are implementing the tech, to hire and attract and recruit those skilled professionals in those technology areas. So yeah, that's in a nutshell sort of what we do.
So you did a perfect job putting it in that nutshell. So what I always like to do is kind of break that nutshell open a little and figure out how each and every one of us that's so passionate about automation kind of gets there. So as every one of my listeners knows, I always like to try to learn about people's childhood and figure out kind of what got them to the man sitting in front of me right now. So can you tell us a little about your childhood and some values, as you were growing up?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I grew up clearly in the UK, in a small town, not too far away from London. I know some of your viewers are probably going to be based in the US, so try and use that as a point of reference. But yeah, it was probably, I'd say, about an hour away from London. And yeah, I come from a relatively small family, just myself, my younger brother, and my mum and my dad. So we've always had quite a tight family unit. And I think from a values perspective, certainly growing up, it's always been family first. My parents have been massive around, getting me to where I am today. And I think just having that sort of value around that. We're always quite competitive as a family as well, which I think also led to moving into the business world and, running a business. I think you always have to have that competitive edge. I like winning. I like success. So that part comes naturally, and that drive as well, they kind of instilled in me from when I was younger. So yeah, that's the kind of, I guess, little background story of my family and when I was a little bit younger.
So did you always know, and when did you realize you were interested in automation and the type of venture you're in right now? I mean, was it always there, or did it something that clicked later on for you?
Yeah, so it really, it did click. So I went to university, I went through school, I was always very sporty, did loads of different sports. Went to university, I studied sport and physical education. Probably at the time, and back then I'd probably say that I was training to be more like maybe a PE teacher, or move into some sort of personal training or physical therapy, something along those lines. And then when I came out of university, I got a job as a lifeguard when I graduated, when I was trying to find my feet and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, as most people do. And then I kind of fell into the world of recruitment. I wanted to do a job where I could be competitive, where I could earn some good money, and somewhere where, the experience that I had from university, for some jobs you have to have, a degree. And, if you want to be a doctor, you have to study medicine. If you want to move to something else, with recruitment, you don't really need a background in anything. You can't do a degree in recruitment, not that I know of currently, so far at least.
Either, yeah.
Yeah, so I fell into that, and that was my first taste of the business world. The first time I'd ever been in that sort of environment, dealing with organizations, dealing with people, trying to manage my time. And we got involved quite early on with technology recruitment. And it started off as a ERP, BI type back-end systems, financial systems for organizations. And that's when automation started coming in back in, I would say, 2015. And it started to become a thing. And it was only really early stage. So then that's when I first got introduced to it and started learning a bit more and started recruiting into that area. But it was still a very small market. No one was really adopting it at that time in the business world in terms of doing that back-end process automation. So it took a little while to adjust, but that's kind of how I would say how I got introduced to it, through that recruitment, through finding out and speaking to companies about, you know, what was their next best thing? What was their big plan moving forward? What were they going to do to completely change the way their business runs? So yeah, I guess that's, long story short, kind of how I kind of got into that.
So how long would you say, I mean, in years, would it say, were you starting to realize, okay, automation is emerging, people are not really adopting it yet, but, you know, kind of take me from that like light bulb moment to realize, you know, there could be something here to Edgetech. You know what I'm saying? Like what was it that you, because, you know, we all identify things. I mean, for me, my aha moment was, you know, I see a robotic lawnmower at a landscape show and I watch all the landscapers laughing at it. And I think I got to figure out the ROI on this thing and bring it to market. Right. So yeah, what's your like light bulb moment, you know?
So it was probably, I would say 2 years after being exposed to that, where the market was just exploding, and the demand that we saw was, you know, before starting Edgetech, when I was working for another recruitment company, the demand was just, it was exponential, month and month and month, and people were hiring and they were looking for these skills and companies were adopting the tech. And that was when I had that light bulb moment, and I thought, I'm making some good money for this, you know, for the business that I'm working with, but I could do this for myself and probably do it better in the way that I want to do it. And I had my two business partners as well to kind of support that. So it was at that point we thought, you know, we all kind of got together and kind of said, yeah, we need to do this, because the opportunity is this. You've only got a finite, you know, time slot that you could do this. So, you know, we need to do it now. So yeah, that's kind of how it came about.
Okay. So you lead perfectly into my next question, you know, so you said you were looking and saying, okay, there has to be a way I could do this differently, or my way. Right. So, yeah. So, you know, how are you guys changing that business or differentiating yourself from the other people you were making money, but you thought you could do it better?
Absolutely. So there's always, and it's a little bit less so in the US, and we do quite a lot of work into the States. But certainly in the UK, there's a big stigma around recruiters and recruitment companies, in the sense that the service is generally quite poor. If you're a candidate, you often get ghosted quite a lot, and you never hear back on a position that you're kind of being put forward for. So from a service perspective, in that sense, we really want to change the way that we work with organizations, where we work with fewer businesses, but actually spend a lot more time giving them more care and attention to, you know, properly doing them justice and finding the right people, making sure we're retaining the talent as well and helping them grow, almost being an outsourced recruitment arm to their business in a way. And that then leads on to some of the services that we offer, which are a little bit different than your standard, oh, okay, you need someone, we'll find you someone. When we found that person, you can pay us. We offer a few different services that are not only more, I would say, effective, but also cost efficient for organizations that are actually looking to scale. Because if you know, when you do start to hire, it can become very expensive for an organization. So we worked out the sort of economies of scale. We offer a few different offerings around, like I said, a recruitment outsourced offering. So we basically handle, a company's complete recruitment from end to end. You know, no matter what it is, they pay a fixed monthly fee, and we do absolutely everything. and we do it at a fraction of the cost that you would to, work with different recruiters. We do bundle hiring as well. So if you've got volume, we really cut the price down because we know that there's that volume there. And then we do certain statement of work pieces as well around contract delivery. So we basically deploy almost ready-made teams who are, made up of these experts, developers, business analysts, project managers, and we can deploy them on site to deliver a project for one of our customers in short notice and at a fraction of the cost compared to, the big consultancies of the world, the Deloittes, the EYs, the behemoths that charge generally quite a lot. So yeah, there's a few different things there that we kind of do, which we feel separates ourselves from other people in the market. So yeah.
That sounds great. And, for someone like myself, who's not a consultant, I have to hire a lot of people myself, so I always wonder how you guys find these pools of people. It always amazes me how, people that are true professionals in their craft, or their trade, how they access these things. And you don't have to give away any secrets. I'm not trying to start any new consulting companies here, but like a little bit like general, how do you attract these people to yourselves?
Yeah. So, we're quite fortunate in a way because we got involved in the technology sector that we're in, the RPA and automation space quite early. We were fortunate enough to build up quite a good reputation and, our own personal brands within the space. So, and that's what we built Edgetech on. And then the name has, the Edgetech brand has become a brand that people, first of all, have heard of and know of and can trust as well. And at the end of the day, recruitment is it's people related at the end of the day. You're dealing with people, you're placing people with people, you're matching people with people. So you have to be a people person. And we talk to people every single day. The amount of time that we spend on the phone to, candidates, clients, prospects, everything, just talking to people, networking, even if people aren't right, it's just about connecting. And then that comes into the sort of sales and marketing aspects as well. We're really big advocates of marketing, whether that's through email marketing or just on LinkedIn or on Twitter, social media, anything like that, just to keep our name out there, not to pester people, but do it in the right way so that we're always front of mind. It's all one big cycle, really. So yeah, there's a few things that that we do, but yeah, it's a people job. So yeah.
So I'm always interested. Hopefully you don't mind me asking this, but how did you come up with the name Edgetech? Was it I just think is an interesting question that most people never ask.
Yeah, absolutely. So because it was myself and my two co-founders, the three of us that started the business, it probably took us about 3 months to figure out the name, and it wasn't through lack of trying. We all had our own sort of names that we preferred. I guess it's like picking a baby name, really. But you throw an extra person involved who likes different names as well. And we're all guys, so we're all completely stubborn. Our name is always the best name. So we ended up just coming to an agreement that we wanted tech in the name, and because we focus on tech, we're always going to do tech. And the edge part came from basically cutting edge or bleeding edge tech. So we combined the two together, and I think it was a bit of a light bulb moment again. When you sort of hear it, once we did kind of put it out there, we thought, actually no, that's got a good ring to it, and it sounds right. So yeah, and then we just kind of we stuck with it. But yeah, it took a bit of time to get there. But yeah, we're glad that we named it what we did. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I like your thought process, and I just want to add to. I like that you said it was like kind of picking out baby names, because if you're a true entrepreneur, your business is another one of your babies or children, yeah. and I always say, you start with this infant of a organization, and you watch it grow, and then the whole goal, right, is to get it to basically be self-sufficient, yeah. Run itself, watch it from afar, So the evolution of business is literally like growing a human being, Yeah. So I think it's awesome that's kind of like how you guys did that. So would you say so I mean, obviously you told me when you were in school, you realized that you could really do this consulting, and even just in having the conversation, you're definitely a people person. I can tell you talk to people every day. But are you more excited or passionate about the tech part of it or the people part of it? Or is it, is there one or the other that makes you like wake up in the morning, you're like, I'm edge tech, or is it, I'm going to talk to a lot of people about technology today?
Yeah, it's strange because I have my days when that, sometimes, don't get me wrong, the tech is great, but for me, the tech is always going to evolve and the tech's always going to change. But at the core of that are the people that make these transformations or, make these changes. So at the heart of it, the people are always the most important things. The tech will, will change, it will come and go. But I really just think, yeah. I guess I've never really thought of it that way, but yeah, I guess I'm, it is people. That is the thing. And, it could be any tech, but clearly we are passionate about, about automation and about, where that's heading towards artificial intelligence and other things like that. But yeah, I think at the heart of it, it's the people that drive that.
So I guess I took a risk by asking you the question, but I kind of had a feeling I knew how you were going to answer anyways. And I feel like there's this stigma out there by some people that they think anybody that's excited about technology don't care about people because we don't care to take their jobs or whatever. So, there was a little bit of a self-serving reason I asked that question, because I believe every person I talk to that's passionate about technology does it for people. And it's, people just don't understand it. It's still a way to talk and help people and get people into exciting jobs that are cutting edge, jobs, and they don't feel like it's a mundane task anymore. Yeah. So we all have people in our lives that we look back as mentors. So and I'm always interested in hearing whose people's mentors are. And I could tell by the original question when I asked about your background and you brought up your parents. And for me, my parents were a mentor for me, but, outside people, that you've worked with or alongside that have kind of gotten you to the professional you are today.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a few, kind of going back before sort of outside people. I would also say that even my younger brother, he is possibly I'd say he's the hardest working person that I know, hands down. And I like to work hard, and I know a lot of hardworking people, but he is in a way a mentor in that sense. And he works in tech, but yeah, he's definitely one. But I would say sort of outside of work, one of the first people was probably the person that hired me into my first recruitment role, because he basically he put me on the scene, gave me the opportunity, and he also was passionate about automation and knew he seemed to know where the technology was going to go. And he knew that there was an opportunity there and pushed me down that route. So I think if it weren't for him, he obviously taught me a lot, because, it was my first job in recruitment. And, I was learning the ropes and learned a lot from him. I think beyond that, we've got 2 investors in Edgetech, fairly recently over the past year or so, and since they've joined us, the amount that they've kind of mentored us, not only from a business perspective, but kind of outside of that as a person, and how to handle things when you are running a business and when you're a business owner, they've added immense value. So yeah, there's a few different people, and I think you always find that at different stages in your life you have different mentors through different stages. So yeah, I think we're kind of there now. But yeah, those are the ones that have kind of impacted me the most, I'd say.
Yeah, well, and in a weird way, it doesn't surprise me that you bring up investors. I'm at a stage in the company where there's people come in saying, hey, can we invest in the company? And sometimes I'll tell, friends or other small business owners that I'm thinking about that venture, and they're like, just go to a bank, man, just get a loan. And I'm like, investors are more than just some money. They want their investment to succeed also, and they're going to give a lot of input, and you're going to learn a lot. from those people to help scale your business. And it sounds like you found the right people, and congratulations for that. Because the selection process, is kind of like picking a wife or something. You know what I'm saying? You want to make sure it's somebody you're going to get along with before you give them the key to the checkbook. So that's awesome. So you're obviously a pretty young guy, but you're an industry leader. So do you have advice you would give to people that are in college right now doing what you were doing, that want to get into this, like anything you want to say to those types of people that are listening?
Yeah. And because I am, I'm not old. I've got, I'm 30 years old. So I'm still, I'm still young. And I know I am. But yeah, I mean, the advice that I would give is, it's probably, it's quite tricky, because clearly I could give advice around, sort of technologies or business and things like this. But I think one of the main pieces of advice that I would give is, if there is an opportunity for you to do something while you're young, to just go ahead and do it, and then worry about what's going to happen later and figure it out. Because, opportunities, even when you're young, you kind of think this opportunity will come around again, or there'll be another opportunity like this, or something will happen. But from experience, and we set up the business a few years ago, but we did it while we were still young. We did it while we could, and I don't regret doing that. But there are probably other opportunities that I can't really remember of, but I'm sure that there are some that I've given up in the past where it could have changed things for the better. So yeah, I would probably just say, find something that you're passionate about, and just go for it, and just, do it 100%, go all out, explore it, take the opportunity. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't matter. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great advice. It's something that, people ask me a lot. They'll ask me about my success or why I'm successful. And I'm like, every business I've ever started, I'm passionate about it,
Yeah.
And I like doing it, so a lot of times I'll find people ask, I own a snow removal company. I don't think I told you that before the show started, but sometimes my customers will see me in a plow truck in the wintertime, and they're like, what the hell are you still doing in a plow truck? And I'm like, man, I started this company because I like plowing snow. So if I don't have a Zoom call or something to do, I'll hop in the plow truck and go push snow, but that's important, because if you don't like it, don't even try to start it. You're going to hate it, and you're going to want to exit out before it even starts to succeed,
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that's great advice for a 30-year-old young entrepreneur to give, So where do you see this industry headed? Do you think we're on the brink? Do you think we're kind of in adoption curve now? You said, I thought it was interesting when you talked about your name, and it was bleeding edge, cutting edge. Everybody that monitors growth curves and business curves.
Yeah.
I feel like I already know the answer to that question, but personally, I don't even think we're in adoption curve in a lot of these automated technologies yet. I'm assuming you're going to agree with that.
Yeah, we're certainly getting there. All of the big enterprises at the moment, from an RPA, software automation perspective, they're all starting to adopt it. It's very, very early stages. No one's started to see, the huge ROI that they will see just yet. Don't get me wrong, some organizations have really proven that it works and that it's a thing. But I think there's still such a way to go before, we're just at the tip of the iceberg with a lot of these technologies. And there are even more technologies coming in now to complement automation, which will completely change the way that businesses, will operate. But even now, you've got, big, household names, big organizations that are still going through finance transformation processes. They're just upgrading their CRMs or their finance systems, and it's taken them years to do that. So how long do you think it's going to take for them to, adopt this new and strange technology? It's going to take them longer, but I think, the rate of adoption is starting to increase now. And I think we're going to get there, I think 5 to 10 years. I think 10 years from now will be a completely different picture. I think 5 years we'll start really seeing that, those gains, that ROI, and then beyond that, it'll be a completely different world that we're living in. So excited. But I think we're just there.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting. I mean, it's crazy because I don't even think a lot of financial institutions, like they're used to looking at P&L, tax returns. They're used to looking at a certain thing. If somebody buys equipment or, brings on people, what's it going to make them in the long run? I don't even think the learning curve has been adopted yet to understand that when you start automating process, once you put the money in on the front end to get set up, the amount of net profit you're gonna collect on the back end, and I truly think that's one of the hurdles or stumbling points right now, that I'm always trying to talk to people about. Like, listen, you can't expect. So many people expect with automation, they're going to implement it and they're going to see a return on investment in 1 to 2 years. I can't tell you how many people in my industry I'll talk to. And I'm like, I'm personally saying, yeah, in year 4 and 5, you'll start to see some big time margins. And they're like, well, I want to see them in 1 to 2 years. And I'm like, you're being greedy right now. Give it time to play out. Would you agree that that's what you're seeing in all the areas?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think as well, some of the vendors that are out there providing this automation software, they haven't really done themselves much justice either, because they're going there and they're saying, look, we can automate this process for you, and this could save you X amount, over the course of the year. But what they don't say is that, there's an implementation, there's a lead time, there's, it's going to take this long to get that. And then you're going to need multiple processes running to see a large ROI. And that takes time. And with these big organizations, there's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of hoops that you have to jump through to actually get that to start working. So some organizations sometimes, we were told that we could get an ROI in 6 months and see that investment back. But yeah, it's not the case. So we find a lot of the businesses we speak to, there's occasionally an education piece, not always from our side. Sometimes there is, if they're new to the technology, we kind of impart a bit of wisdom as much as we can anyway. But yeah, there's still a lot of educating to do out there, because people still really don't know, like you say, timescale wise, what the ROI is going to be, or what that really looks like.
Well, and I also think a lot of companies, whether it's automation software or automation hardware, robot performing a task, that they also do themselves an injustice to expand on what you said, because they're always talking about, kind of ROI, what it could save, bottom line. But they never do a good job, and this is, in my opinion, it's one of the reasons I have this podcast, explaining once you see some of the cost savings on the front end, how much market share, how much market expansion you'll need, or you'll be able to receive without having to find qualified candidates that just don't exist. So this is where I think they underserve themselves also, is always trying to show how much money can we save you, sign up with us, we'll save you money. And then the people are always looking for the cost savings, but they're not looking at 5-10 years down the line, a company that would have to do everything with a person, longhand or pushing a lawnmower, would have to figure out where to find 500,000 people. Well, now you can do it with 100,000 people and go national or global.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we've seen the same, even with, like you say, software, hardware, it's all the same. It's the same principle. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So to not spend too much time down on that. So, right now, like, kind of what's the fire in your belly? Like how big do you think you can scale Edgetech? I know you said earlier that you seem almost focused on not getting too big too fast to give that customer experience. Is that always going to be what you guys are looking to do, or?
So, yeah, no, I mean, we didn't want to set up a lifestyle business by any means. We didn't want to, just to be the co-founders, a couple of investors, maybe a few employees, and be happy with that. We always had plans to grow and scale as big as we could, but to do it at a responsible rate at the same time. And we knew that for the first few years, we wanted to really establish Edgetech as a known brand in the space, and an organization that can be trusted. So when we bring when we bring people in, whether they're experienced recruiters and have done this before, or, they're completely new to the sector, like I was when I first started and we trained them up, they're coming into an organization where there's already a good reputation, and it enables them to basically put their best foot forward and join an environment where they can be successful. Because there's nothing worse than joining an organization that either isn't really known, is in an industry where people can sometimes think that recruiters are a bit of a necessary evil. We want to do that, and I think the real master plan for us is to grow and scale. I mean, we're actually planning to hire 3 people. We were probably in a position to do that just before COVID hit us, and then COVID hit, and I know we'll probably get onto this this topic.
It was actually my next question, so just roll with it. This is perfect. Okay. I was going to ask how COVID affected you, especially being out in the London area. So go ahead. I guess this leads nicely onto that. So we were planning to hire. We had officially 3 offers out to people to join us, and then it was almost exactly the same time that COVID hit. And then when COVID sort of struck here in the UK, I would say probably almost every organisation that we were working with that was hiring permanent employees put their hiring on hold or just put it on pause, because a lot of businesses were making people redundant. Other businesses were furloughing a lot of their staff, so putting them on 80% pay, so they weren't working at all because no one could be in the office or whatever. So that really hit us quite hard, because if a lot of your clients stop recruiting and hiring and they're actually going the other way and making people redundant, then what do you do as a recruiter? So we decided to withdraw those offers. We thought it's not the right time to bring new people in. They'd struggle. They'd probably find it quite hard, but they'd also probably not like it as much as they usually would when the market is buoyant and things are rocking and rolling and everyone's having fun. And then, with COVID, we didn't really pivot the business, but we focused a lot more on contract and project delivery. So where organizations couldn't officially hire permanent employees because they had hiring freezes on, they still needed to deliver these programs of work. And even during COVID, more so, businesses wanted to adopt automation because they had reduced workforces, people weren't working, or less people were working. So there was more of a need to automate more stuff. If there's people not there doing those tasks, or if they can't work from home, or if they've had to make people redundant or furlough them, then they need to automate it. So we were quite fortunate to work with some pretty big organizations in financial services, in insurance, who basically just continued as normal. And they were like, right, we need to automate this. We need to bring in a contract team because we can't hire permanent. We get your professionals in for a 6-month project, deliver this, and then move on. So we were kind of doing that during that period. So it was very similar, but in a different way, very much more contract and project focused, which kind of it kept us going at the same time. It was tough, clearly, but we managed to find a workaround and did all right. So not a little off topic to business stuff, but I'm always interested in this, just especially since you're out on the other side of the world. So what how where are you guys at in the COVID fight right now? Out in your area?
Now it's good. I mean, if you would have caught me 2 weeks ago, my hair would have been over my eyes, and we wouldn't have been able to see me. So the hairdressers have been shut. So we went into like a bigger lockdown around Christmas time, and we've only just come out of lockdown officially on the 12th of April. So that means for us, we've got the gyms are open again, hairdressers and non-essential shops are open, and the pubs are open, which is clearly the main one in the UK that everyone cares about. So
well, we share that in common, because oh man, people were real upset the bars were closed.
So yeah, since the 12th, things have really just opened back up a little bit now. We can kind of go out, go to the gym, go to the pub, go to certain restaurants, but it's really just eat and drink outside at the moment. So we're in a good position. I think there was a statistic that I saw: over 50% of adults in the UK have been vaccinated so far. So we're moving towards, getting back to normal, whatever that will look like. I don't know, but yeah, we're in a quite a good position. I know we've got a few clients in Germany. They've actually kind of gone back a little bit. I think they've got like a 10 p.m. curfew on at the moment, where they can't leave their houses after 10 o'clock at night. So yeah, we're quite fortunate at the moment. So yeah.
I asked the question. I'll explain how it is out here. We, I'm going to maybe get in trouble with some of my audience when I say this, but as Americans, sometimes we are whiny little babies about stuff, and we're so about our freedoms that nobody wants to get told they're getting locked down. I mean, when I hear Germany has a 10 o'clock curfew, if there was a 10 o'clock curfew here, you would just see riots on TV, So, we're doing pretty good. I mean, I got my second dose actually as we speak. I'm in COVID quarantine again because one of my employees that didn't get vaccinated, unfortunately got COVID. And I was 1 week away from being in hey, you've been second dosed, you're good to go. So I'm a rule follower. So I'm sitting at home kind of seeing what happens. But yeah, no, I mean, it's we're kind of catching up. There's a lot of people that think the vaccine is going to make them grow an extra arm or third eyeball. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how we've gotten to this point in human evolution and forgotten that we all get vaccinated for polio and all these different vaccines that we get, and we vaccinate our children willingly. And then they say, hey, get vaccinated for COVID. And you have all these grown adults being like, not me, not worth the chance. I'm going to turn into this or that. And it's like, holy cow, son of a bitch. You put your kid there willingly and put a shot in their arm, and now you don't want to get a shot. I don't know. So it's hard for me. This might get me in some trouble, but everybody has their rights in the United States. So I don't hold it against anybody, but I also have my right to say, stop acting like a baby.
I think you get that everywhere. You've got people in the UK that are saying things like that as well. And to be honest, I'd be quite impressed if we did take the vaccine and I could grow another arm. I could do quite a lot with that extra arm. I could probably, take up another hobby or something like that. So yeah, it wouldn't be the worst thing. But yeah, I doubt we're probably going to go down that route. But
yeah. I mean, well, I had COVID really, really bad. I was in the hospital for it. And one of the things that's crazy that I tell people is I had side effects from COVID for months, so I know a lot of people are nervous about any side effects from the vaccine, but I was I was on an inhaler for quite a while afterwards, so so it is what it is, but I'm glad to hear you guys are kind of getting it under control at 50%. I do think that, I'm an optimist. So I always say there's good that comes out of everything. And I do believe, since I'm so passionate about automation, the good that comes out of it is a lot of businesses will start to prepare themselves for the next pandemic. I mean, that's just, if you're going to be a smart business and you're going to thrive in future economy, you cannot let this can't happen. And then you say, this is a one and done. It will happen again, likely in our lifetimes, I think. So, you set yourself up. I mean, I tell my daughter all the time, like, any company that does the keystroke monitoring and work from home productivity tasks, I mean, these companies just have to be crushing it. And if they're not, they need marketing people to get out and sell what they can do, because there's a lot of people that are going to just keep working from home,
Yeah, that's not going to change. I mean, we work in recruitment. So I think the majority of the businesses we work with across the globe, they're thinking about, and everyone has a different approach, but they're thinking about doing an 80-20 split. 80% from home, 20% in the office. But even then, for a lot of the positions, it's opened up, and we've been saying this right from the start, even before COVID. If you can have someone do that, do this role from their bedroom, and do an amazing job and do it from home, or do it in their office, or do it in their kitchen, then why not? Because, as soon as you just want someone within a 5-mile radius of your office, just because you want them in so you can have a look at them and see if they're working, every 5 minutes, you're not going to find the best people. As soon as you open that up to across the whole of the UK or the whole of the US, or depending on what time zone you want to be in, it just increases that talent pool tenfold, and you have access to amazing talent that you would never have even touched before. So it's helping these organizations actually better themselves, because they get access to better people to help them. So yeah, I hope it doesn't change back, but I know there are going to be some organizations that are, as soon as they're able to, they're like, right, back in the office, let's go. So
yeah, well, and what you said is a great point, and I because it does open up the talent pool to a lot of people. I think that I think that it will what's going to cause people to fall back into that, unfortunately, is they have the building, they have the real estate, so if you got it there, bring the people back. I mean, I will say the one thing that I find difficult, maybe you can expand on this, is when you're running a large team, is to get that kind of teamwork aspect. I mean, when people do report to a location, you have that, it's a team, it's a team of people there. You're bringing each other up, you're uplifting each other. And a lot of people have their work families and their home families, and a lot of people enjoy escaping to work to get to get a change of pace. So, it'll be interesting to see how that evolves. That's my point,
Yeah. And I think, I'm a complete believer of still going into the office and being with people. Like I said before, I'm a people person. I love speaking to people. I love meeting people. Before COVID, I was, going to visit clients every week. I was meeting candidates, and, we were going out for drinks or doing things. And, you kind of miss that interaction. You can never build as great rapport as you can in person. And, don't get me wrong, Zoom and Teams is absolutely great. And it's enabled organizations to still work collaboratively and be productive. But you're right, you can't really be, especially in a big team, you can't really be all just getting together in the same room and doing what you do. So I still think people should be able to do that. And I think it's quite key that human to human interaction is there, because and a lot of people that I speak to, you don't want to be stuck at home all the time and never see your colleagues. Like, people like going out, and some people like being in the office and having that work environment and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's very different for everyone. But I think, I'm quite a big advocate of being in the office and being with people, but also having that flexibility to work from home when you can. So yeah.
Well, and if we didn't have that flexibility and opportunity, you and I wouldn't be having this awesome conversation today.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
There'd be no way two people on the opposite side of the world would be doing this. I mean, for me, it's 1:51 in the afternoon. What time is it out there?
It's 10 to 8 in the evening.
Yeah, see, so first of all, thanks for taking your evening for this. See, these are the things sometimes we don't think about, but it's cool in a way to think about that. I mean, it's 8 o'clock by you. You probably are done with dinner, I hope, and you're winding down, and I'm thinking what I'm going to have for dinner, So So I always like to talk about core values, because I believe, talking about the new wave things, there have to be new ways of managing people when you're not going to an office anymore, and you can't have somebody looking in the office and kind of saying, so what are you doing? So does your company have established core values? And if so, explain them. And if not, what are some personal values for yourself that keep you motivated?
Yeah. So we've got, I would say, 4 core values, and they're basically rooted from our own personal values as well. So that, they cross over, is one and the same, really. So trust is a big one for us. And that goes for, the businesses that we work with, being able to trust them, being able to trust the candidates that we work with, but also being trusting and having people trust us in terms of what we do. That then kind of leads on. It's very similar, I guess, in a way, but honesty is another thing for us, being completely honest, and, we don't do sort of any underhand tactics at all. We're completely, clear with both parties, or all parties that are involved. And it's quite big for us. And that our clients and the businesses that we work with are honest with us as well. Accountability is another one as well. And I think in recruitment, accountability is such a big thing, because when an organization trusts you to go out there and recruit on their behalf, you're representing that business, you're representing that brand, you're an extension of that business. So, having, when you go out and do that, you all of a sudden are solely accountable for attracting the very best people, attracting their employees, and what is the future of their business for that organization. So yeah, the kind of accountability side for us is massive. We always want to hold ourselves accountable. It's probably one of the main ones for us. And then I guess one of the other ones, and it probably falls under the other two that I said, but transparency for us. And I know that kind of falls hand in hand with trust and honesty. But I mean, transparency in a way is, because I think sometimes recruitment can be a bit of an unknown. Why am I paying you to send me someone? Maybe I could have found them, I could have done a search on LinkedIn and found their name. But we're always completely transparent about, the services that we perform, pricing, the way we work, and, things like that. So yeah, I say those are our four sort of core values, and yeah, three of them are probably considered as very, very closely linked, but they're kind of what we work by, but also there are basically our personal values as well, because when we put them together, we really thought what was close to home for us as people, what resonates really well. So yeah, that's where they came from.
So when you recruit these people for these like 6-month temporary jobs or whatever you're saying that you were doing, so do you kind of instill those values into them to say, listen, these people are using us, these are our values, make sure you have the same set of values when you go there? Or is it like, how do you do that in your type of industry?
Absolutely, because for us, certainly on contract placements, I mean, permanent hires and things like that, at the end of the day, we're an introductory agency. We try and find the best people as best we can, but inevitably some things won't always work out, and there are things that we can't ever possibly find out about people. But I mean, from a contract perspective, when you are delivering a piece of work, that individual or those group of individuals then represents Edgetech to do that. So in doing so, we need to make sure that we can trust the people that are going to be delivering that work, that they're actually going to be accountable. So we do, in a way, we don't really sit them down and say, right, these are our values, bang, bang, bang. But leading up to that, we would have had numerous meetings, phone calls, you name it, before they're even close to being on site or speaking to one of our clients. So we really do vet and make sure that people are aligned. So we try our best, at least, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're trying to get, and I'm explaining this to some people listen, because I actually adopted this. I can't take credit for core values. It's something that gets talked about on a lot of podcasts. I wouldn't produce a podcast if I didn't listen to them, And, a guy that I heard once, actually credit, he owns a company called Tasty Catering, but he had said something I thought was very powerful once, and he said that they literally not only hire, but they kind of fire on their core values. And what he means by that is, it allows people to make mistakes, right? But yeah. If a core value is honesty, stealing is dishonest. So you didn't meet our core values. See you later. Yeah. If honesty is a core value and you have time clock fraud, I'm sorry, that wasn't very honest. I'm going to have to let you go. It violates our core values. So it makes it really easy for employees to hold themselves accountable, but it also makes it very easy for customers to also understand, if you don't let somebody go, if it's not in my core values that I don't allow people to make mistakes, a customer can't call me and say, your person fertilized wrong, I want you to fire them. I would say, well, at the end of the day, they weren't dishonest. They weren't disrespectful. I cannot let that person go. I'm sorry. So just something to elaborate on for the people that listen. So, because I always bring up core values and sometimes I probably don't break into them enough, but that's really what the whole point of it is, make management of large staffs easier, so they're self-managed. So have you had any tough times starting this business? I mean, everybody thinks everything's all like, everything's great, but there are always tough times that we learn from. Have you had any pitfalls or learning experiences that have helped you get to where you're at?
I wouldn't say. I mean, clearly the one that sticks out is COVID. I mean, prior to that, even our first year of setting up the business was still an uphill battle, like anything. When you're starting from ground zero, clearly we already had a lot of connections in the space that we work into. We'd already built up our personal brands, so starting something ourselves wasn't exactly like starting something where you've got no experience in whatsoever. So we had a rolling start, and that was relatively easy. We had a good first year, but then the second year was good, and then third year was COVID. So for us, that's just been the toughest obstacle for us to try and navigate that. And we've learned quite a lot around, ensuring that the business is flexible and, versatile enough to react when the markets dip and when things happen, and we can kind of pivot the business a little bit different, or position it in a different way where, we can still, keep ourselves afloat. So that's probably the biggest one. Clearly the business is still quite young, so only time will tell. I'm sure there'll be more in the future.
Well, and there will be, and I mean, that's normal. It's like for you went to school for like you said, you were going to be a gym teacher, a PE teacher, and now you're running a business. I went to school for small circuitry and analysis, and I'm running a business. At the end of the day, owning businesses is like continuing education courses, but you're paying for them. At the end of the day, you'll either pay somebody to teach you, or you'll kind of teach yourself. And when you suffer a failure, you kind of chalk that up into higher education. That's what it comes down to. So there will be, but keep your head up. I mean, I can tell you, for me, and I'm not that much older than you. I'm 42. But things happen, and you just respond, and you keep on growing. So. And it sounds like you have a great business model, and you have a great successful future. So to kind of lighten things up before, we go, I know in some of the research, you say you like to, some of the things I saw, you like to ride your motorcycle, you find some time in the gym, and you like to read some books. So first, and by the way, I haven't even seen you take a sip of coffee. It says you're drinking.
Not this late in the evening. No, not this late. If you
so when do you cut yourself off? When you're like, hey, I'm done with the juice here today. Like,
that's typically about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll tend to have my last one because, any later than that, I won't be sleeping. And if you catch me in the morning, usually I'll have like 2 on the go. I'll be finishing one, and the other one will be hot. So. It really depends time of day, but
so we're like brothers on another side of the world, because I literally, if I have to leave my house in the morning, I will leave with 3 cups. I'll literally make them, put the tops on them, put them in my truck, and I leave. And then my afternoon is usually Dunkin' Donuts. For us, it's Dunkin' Donuts. I don't know what your coffee is out there, if it's Starbucks or whatever the brands are out there, but it's like the girls at Dunkin' Donuts know I'm going to pull up at 3 o'clock with my last coffee. So it's same thing for me. And sometimes it'll be like 5, and I'm like, shit, I didn't have my last coffee. So I'm going to probably want to go to bed earlier than I want to, but it's too late to have the second or my 4th one now, So I saw that, and I just wanted to bring it up because I kind of laughed about it, because I don't indulge in any other things, but when it comes to coffee, I drink probably way too much of it. So what kind of motorcycle do you have? It says you like to ride your motorcycle.
Yeah, I've got a Kawasaki Ninja ZX6R, just a 600. Thinking about maybe upgrading to something a little bit bigger, but I've had motorcycles for years, and that really stemmed back from my father. He always had them when I was younger, and I always looked up and used to go on the back when I was younger. And my mum always told me, you're not going to get a motorcycle, but as soon as I could, I did. So as you do.
So has your dad always had that type of motorcycle, or is he more of a cruiser guy? out here, you know, we call those crotch rockets. I don't know if you call them the same thing by you know.
Yeah, I know of the term. To be honest, I think my next one, I'll probably looking to change it to a bit more of a cruiser, because, you know, long journeys when you're lent so far forward and all the pressure's on your wrist, and I've, you know, got my girlfriend on the back. It's it's interesting, to say the least. But yeah, my dad, he's had a mix. He's had a few sports bikes. He's had a few Tourers. He hasn't had one for a while. But he is, ever since I've got my new one, he's wanting to get one again. But I think he's probably going to get like a cruiser, something a bit more comfortable. I don't think, you know, his joints probably won't be able to handle something like mine long term.
Oh, we just froze up here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can.
Okay, yeah. All right, good. It was just a brief freeze. You know, this is good old technology podcast world when that happens. So you said your girlfriend has no problem hopping on back. I always, when I see people on bikes, I always think that the bravest person in the world is the person sitting behind a guy like you on a motorcycle, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. She's the one actually usually telling me to go faster when she's on the back. I'm quite sensible, you know, when we're out and about, but yeah, she loves it. So, and I agree. I don't know if I'd ever get on the back of a motorcycle with anyone, because I don't trust anyone other than myself. So, she doesn't mind.
Yeah. So, you know, how does your day kind of go? You know, how much of your day is working? How much of your day is your time, you know, to hop on the motorcycle or go work out, or, you know, kind of what's that mix for you?
Yeah. So we've been quite fortunate that we've been kind of in the office every now and again. So it depends day to day. Sometimes I'll travel into the office, which is about sort of half an hour. So I'll get up in the morning, have my breakfast, and then head out to the office, which is about 30 minutes in the car. Or if I'm working from home, I'll just start a little bit earlier. I tend to start at about 8 o'clock in the morning. And then it's tricky. It depends, because we've got clients in Europe. We've also got clients in the States. So, you know, if we're working into Finland, they're 2 hours ahead of us. So sometimes I do get in earlier if I've got stuff to work on out that way. And at the same time, usually I tend to finish work around 7 o'clock in the evening. But, you know, if I'm working for stuff in the US, we tend to, you know, this is normal for me. You know, I know it says like 8 o'clock, but, you know, it's normal just to continue working all the way through, which probably isn't great for balance. But usually I'll, you know, between then about 7 o'clock, grab a bite to eat, go to the gym. Probably do that about 3-4 times a week. And then, finish things up. And then I go to bed. So it really depends on, it is very interesting, because the thing is with recruitment, no one day is the same. And, you know, one day I need to be up super early. I'm going to be working some of the Finnish stuff, and then we got some UK, but I could finish earlier and finish at 4 o'clock, and then go to the gym early, and then, you know, spend the evening with my family. And there are other days where, you know, it's like I described, where I've got to be up early, but I'm still working late. And, you know, that kind of it is just the way it is. But I like that versatility, and I like not having the exact same sort of cookie cutter day in, day out. And, you know, weekends and stuff, I'll you know, do some emails here and there and do a little bit of work. My girlfriend's quite good at kind of pulling me away from work and kind of just slapping me around the head and saying, come on, like we're going out, you're spending time with me. So, which is what I need. Otherwise I would just be 24/7 into work. So, yeah.
How long have you guys been together?
About 3 years, or just over 3 years now. So about as long as I've run the business. So yeah, she's been there.
That's good. So you guys are still in the honeymoon phase. Eventually she'll be like, work, I'm tired of your ass anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, stay at work.
That's when the real work starts to happen, you know? So, you know, I always kind of round it out and and kind of like to end with, what's your legacy? What do you want to be? What do you want to be remembered by in this industry or at your company? One day if you grow it to the point where it gets sold, what do you want people to remember you for?
Yeah, that's a hard question to answer.
I know everybody says that, and it is. It's kind of like becoming my claim to fame on the podcast. Somebody came on the last time I had somebody on the show. They were like, "Man, I've been looking that last question. I don't know if I want to answer it." I'm like, "Well, I'm going to put you in the hot seat anyways."
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, I think from an EdgeTech perspective, the legacy that I want to leave is to basically to leave the business with the core values intact. I think is the main thing, that I can leave the business knowing that people are going to be sticking to those. We're still properly servicing clients. We're offering the best quality service around, and people just aspiring to have those sort of high standards that I leave behind, I guess. And I think in the world of business and automation, and I think if people think about the certain technologies that we specialize in, I'd like to think that if people think about those technologies, and if they think about recruitment in any sort of form, they just automatically think about EdgeTech, or they automatically think about Harrison at EdgeTech, and as the sort of go-to person for that, recruitment around automation and emerging tech. So that's the dream to be that go-to, to be trusted and to be respected and valued in the space, both from an EdgeTech perspective, but also in the wider business world. So that's the goal, to kind of, start setting out that legacy and doing it based on, trust and mutual respect. So hopefully I've taken some of those steps there, but we'll have to see.
Yeah. So first, I want to tell you that is a great answer. So I always think it's funny. People are always nervous about that question, but they always have some of the best answers ever. And I always think how from the person sitting in my seat, how almost any entrepreneur has the same type of answer. It's like, for me with automated outdoor, I've always said there's going to be all sorts of outdoor automation, and I want to become known as the person you go to for all of it. You don't need to care what brand it is. If you need outdoor automation, you call Automated Outdoor, and It's kind of the same thing. As we were talking, I don't know if you heard it, but I'll say it because I've got a really good mic, and I'm wondering if it's going to pick up the sound of a lawnmower at my neighbor's house. So my legacy move wants to be to basically be the guy that told everybody one day you won't have to hear that. It'll just be gone, So it's just funny. Everybody has their own little things they want to be known and remembered for. And I think your answer was great. It was perfect. So, with that, I think you've explained to the audience how you're going to help people automate their success in all parts of the world. And I'm excited to see your company grow, and hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Absolutely. Yeah, it'd be really good to keep in touch.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for your time. Thanks for being with me this late into the evening.
No, that's absolutely fine, Joe. Thank you.